Call Ascension Parish Council meeting of October 19, 2006 to order. Mr. Valentine, would you please lead us in prayer?
Bow your heads, please. Father, we are so thankful as we can come to you tonight, thanking you for our many blessings, Lord. Thank you for our health. Father, we ask you to remember, and we ask blessings on the Pasqua family tonight as Gonzalez has lost naturally a great citizen in Frank Pasqua this week. We pray that you comfort them in their time of grief. Lord, we ask blessings on this meeting tonight, that each one of us have wisdom and the fortitude and the character to do what's right for this parish. And we ask all these things in your Son's name. Amen. Amen.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mrs. on everyone's present. Chair's addition, there's no additional items to be placed on the agenda. There is one announcement that I'd like to share with y'all.
I have 2/3 I would like under utilities. It was supposed to be the introduction of a consolidated utility district to follow District 2 water in Dalrow, those boundaries, the Dalrow-Haverhill area.
All right.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Byregger, second by Mr. McConnell. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes. We'll put that on the Utilities Committee, and that'll be B.
It should be entitled Notice to Proceed and Notice of Intent.
You got that, Ms. Suzanne? Notice to proceed and notice of intent.
That's what he said.
All right.
It's not in the ordinance, but it's
This information coming from the council secretary, reminding everybody that the deadline for placing items on the council meeting agendas is 12 o'clock on Thursday, the week prior to the meeting. Also, all items requested to be placed on the council meeting agendas must have the related information available when placed on the agenda. What's happening is we're experiencing some problems as far as wanting to put things on the agenda and don't have the related information to go with it. You need to get the information to the secretary by Thursday, the deadline. Otherwise, it will not make the agenda. Thank y'all. All right, one other thing, we do have an item out of place that's going to be under the Finance Committee. Go all the way down to C. That's not coming under the Finance Committee. I will take that up separately. I'll leave it right there, but we'll just take it up separately. All right. All right, number 4, public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on any agenda items, please sign in with the secretary and sign a speaker card. Number 5, presentation. Ms. Suzanne, do we have any presentations tonight? All right, thank you. Number 6, Parish President report. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. My report's going to be very, very brief tonight. And Mr. Bill Ruth is going to give the first part of it, a brief summary for you on the overlay project road.
Parish President wanted to go over some of the status, well, really the status of the present road project that's ongoing. Of course, we presented this to the Transportation Committee and we went through it, but this is basically really to present it to the public and inform the public that this is on the website. If they're curious about what kind of roads or where their road is in this project, or even if their road is in the project at all, they're welcome to go to the website and review it. Sonny Thompson Road, Goodwood, Fife, Swamp, Brown, John Broussard, and Manchac Point are either completed or close to completion, or at least working on completion. That was phase 1 of the project. Phase 2, Greenfield, Glen Williams, Woodlawn, Betty, Cesar, Dewey Bro, and Embry Ficklin are either being worked on or getting ready to mobilize to work on those roads. That's phase 2, should be completed by November 24th. And then the last part of the year, Cooper, Leon, Gosmer, Raymond Bro, B. Phillips, Rose, Wren, Lake Park, West Pond, AC, Church Point, and Cotton all will be worked on. And that's the last phase to be completed at the end of the year, first part of 2007. So again, this is just for notification, mainly to the public, and welcome to go to the site and get updates. We are going to update this list next week to actually indicate on the list exactly the status of each one of these roads, either completed or the percentage complete as of next week. So that will also be on the website.
Thank you, Bill.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. McConnell.
just a question on phase 3. Could you put that back up, please? On phase 3, right where your finger is, Bill, you see Lake Park, and on West Pond, right there, that's Lake Park subdivision on right off of 431 in the Brittany area. And I just want a clarification and make sure that the people know that that's the entire subdivision. That includes Lake Ridge, and it includes all of the streets in Lake Park subdivision. It's not just Lake Park, and it's not just West Pond. It's all of the streets in that subdivision.
We did, as far as I know, we did request that this be one of the first roads because we had a lot of complaints, a lot of problems with it as per the schedule. But this schedule is made up by the contractor at his, actually under his control. So this is where he placed it. We couldn't move in there.
I understand that, sir, and I'm disappointed it wasn't at the beginning of the project and that it was put at the end, but I understand, the people do understand. We've just been waiting on that particular subdivision for a couple of years. But some of the streets were not specifically mentioned on that road project, and I just want to assure the people in Lake Park subdivision that that includes all of those streets. It's not just those 2 specific streets that were mentioned, yes?
I couldn't tell you that for sure, to be honest with you.
They told me that on the telephone.
Oh, they did?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
R.J. Daigle, contractor, told me that.
As long as he has it in his contract,
Yeah.
That's no problem with it.
Let's look into that, though, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And what we're trying to do is get this information on the website, Channel 21, so our citizens can kind of prepare for when construction is taking place and adjust their driving habits if necessary while that's taking place. The only other thing I'm going to report on this part of the meeting tonight is got a call yesterday from the Department of Health and Hospitals through David Matassi. We've had 2 more confirmed cases of West Nile in our parish, bringing it to about a total of 18 now, confirmed cases. The aerial spraying was done several weeks ago. Our mosquito control division is working various areas. All these cases thus far has been on the north of the Mississippi River, not on the south of the Mississippi River now. And I emphasize that these are confirmed cases. There may be other cases, and some citizens sometimes have flu-like symptoms, and when they go in and do blood work, they find out it may actually be West Nile. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Number 7, the consent agenda adopted September 21st, 2006 minutes.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Moving to the committee reports, Utilities Committee. Mr. Byrigger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was a recommendation of the committee to send the Heroinville wastewater to the Dara wastewater facility. And that's a recommendation by the Utilities Committee.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Dempsey Lambert, second by Mr. Shake Snyder.
I would like to offer a substitute motion to rebid the project the way it was originally designed.
Second.
Got a substitute motion by Mr. Thompson to go back to the original design and rebid, second by Mr. Todd Lambert or Mr. Byrigger.
Either one. Mr. Byrigger. Both at the same.
Is there any discussion on the substitute motion? Mr. Thompson.
Chairman, the reason why the substitute motion we made to rebid the project is because due to gas prices dropping and the price of PVC pipe coming down, and if you would pipe the wastewater from Heroinville to Dalro, you would you would lose the chance of the second phase for the Harryville project because Darrow plant won't be able to handle the sewer. So if we do it the original project, you'd be able to do the second phase of Harryville and have a plant that could handle it and any future development in the area.
Any further discussion?
I think Mr. Rue wants to say something.
Mr. Rue.
Yeah, what we voted on discussed at the utility meeting and voted on was actually to go forward with the concept, but the actual vote was to task order GSA to go into further into the engineering and review stage of sending it to Darrell to make sure that it would work and get some final numbers on. That's the first stage of their task, which involves some more money to them. And they voted to go ahead, send it to GSA, have them do the preliminary study of it to narrow it down and give better numbers on it. The other issue was the fact that we discussed in utilities was the fact that one of our initial stages of the comprehensive wastewater plan was to go south with a trunk line, into the Darrow area. At the same time, we're going north to the Goudin area with a force main. And in doing so, we would be able to pick up everything along Highway 22, including all of Harryville, probably Darrow too, and everything, the new developments coming down along LA 22. And that's why the utility committee felt that it would be a good project for the time being to send this to Darrow in anticipation of putting a force main from our comprehensive plant to 22 and eventually tying all that into our comprehensive plant and not wasting the money on a package plant at Darrow if in fact we could put this force main from our main plant there. So we got pretty involved at this committee hearing, and I think everybody understood that this would be the best way to go with it. So,
Mr. Byringer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In my opinion, it's going to be a long time before that force main goes down Highway 22, and we're going to have a bunch of subdivisions which are actually coming for approval now down Highway 22. We're going to be missing out on a lot of revenue because it's going to be private sewer systems waiting on the force main to come down 22. We're going to miss out on a lot of revenue that could be going to the Dara and Hillryville systems. And I don't see the need to sit around and wait for us to do that. Once we've run the force main, we already own the system. It'll just go into the force main. We're still collecting revenue. So I don't see any reason to sit by and just wait 10 years down the road, because that's about what it's going to take to 10 years to get a force main, in my opinion, now on Highway 22. We have no money to do that now.
Any further discussion? Mr. Rue, that's all you have?
well, only one thing. We bid it out, and it doesn't look like the pricing is going to come down any, and we were over budget before. It's a possibility, we could, for whatever reason, it would come down if another bidder would get into it, on the list. But I guess my next question would, I would like for this to go back to utility committee to resolve the issue of exactly what we should do, and then bring it back to the board, because I have to have a better understanding of exactly what is to be included in the bid. We're going to bid it just like it was bid before, or we're going to make some changes to bring the cost down. And the other part is that if it is bid out again and it comes in over bid, what do we do? Where the money going to come from?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Byringer.
Yes, sir. Thought process behind that is, I believe the bid was about $200,000 over the estimated amount to be able to send the first phase affluent from Hillryville to Dara. Okay. Once that first phase is sent to Dara, Dara no longer has any more capacity. So to do the second and third phase, you're going to have another capital investment, which is going to be more than $200,000. So you can spend an extra $200 now and have enough capacity for 1, 2, 3 phases, or you can save $200, send it to Dara now for the first phase, and waste money later. I just think it's more feasible to spend the extra $200 now and have a system that can handle 3 phases.
Any further discussion? There's a substitute motion to rebid the Hillryville project as designed. Any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Mr. Byrigger?
Yeah, second, we have the Consolidated Utilities District, and I think Mr. Adrian's going to talk about that.
Yes, we the Dower area, we're trying to create a consolidated utility district to follow the number 2 water district lines, boundaries, and it's just motion to introduce it. And Mr. Babbitt, will we have the ordinance for the next meeting?
Yes, sir. Right now, but before we can do the ordinance, you have to issue a motion to proceed and a notice of intent. Out of that, we can set the public hearings and introduce the ordinance in conformity with the state statute. The notice requirements aren't exactly the same as our charter, so it'll have to be governed by state law. So we'll have to. First thing I need is this notice of intent by this council.
Motion to proceed with a notice of intent.
Motion by Mr. Thompson.
Second.
Second by Mr. McConnell. Any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
And Mr. Chairman, that completes the report.
Thank you, Mr. Byrigger. Number 9, Personnel Committee. Mr. Valentine.
Thank you, Chairman Savoy. Personnel Committee have a few recommendations for appointments tonight. First one will be for the ACU D District number 1, and the recommendation to renew a member already is Reverend Hubert Brunswick.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shake Snyder, second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Next will be a recommendation for the Tourist Commission, and that would be Miss Linda Godin.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Motion by Mr. Tyler Lambert, second by Ms. Fontenot. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
The third recommendation is for the Ascension Parish Recreation Committee Advisory Board.
Motion.
And that's Miss Johnette Purat.
Motion by Mr.
Dempsey Lambert.
Got that one in, Dempsey.
Second by Mr. McConnell. Is there any opposition?
How'd you know?
Oh, Mr. Byrigger, I'm sorry. No opposition, motion passed.
The fourth one, and this was a real difficult one, but the EA Hospital Service District Board, we haven't appointed anybody on that lately, but Mr. Roy Lewis has tendered his resignation, and it was to replace him, and that's going to, our recommendation is for Ms. Stacy Cavaruso.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Ms. Fontenot. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Say, Miss Stacy is in that field, very astute along those lines of health care, and I think she'll serve us well on that district board. That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Thompson.
while Mr. Valentine was talking about the service district, we need to contact them to get a report since they did their transition to see how that's going, East Ascension Hospital. That somebody report to.
I can do that right now, Mr. Chairman, if you like.
It's fine.
Briefly.
Go for it, Mr.
I met with Ms. Stafford, the chairman of the board, last week for about an hour and a half, and she reviewed with me the what's taking place. October 1st, the lease began with another company. Lease amount for about $1 million a year. And as you look at the budget that we gave you last Thursday in finance, you'll see a comment and note in there that once they clean up some matters and take care of some issues, that this money will then become available. They've already gotten the Attorney General approval and a preliminary opinion. This money will need to be spent in the healthcare area. The company that's leasing the hospital has obligations to make significant improvements. They intend to really help it expand and to grow. It looks like there's going to be a very good situation to take a hospital that was still losing a good bit of money annually, and now the service district will receive this $1 million of income and rent, and the buildings will be maintained and improved upon. So this company seems very excited about the potential to do some things, and of course the growth in our community. That's understandable. And so once the financial obligation is completely reviewed and the audits are complete, and then the service district will basically be overseeing in a landlord type of relationship this agreement. And they will be coming to us with some recommendations on how they would like to see some of these funds spent once this gets to that point, which should be probably by the end of the year, first of next year. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 10, Recreation Committee. The Recreation Committee didn't meet. Number 11, Transportation Committee. Ms. Fontenot.
Thank you. Mr. Rule will take over for the time being. Thank you.
Okay, 11A is a change order for the 2005 road reconstruction project. Do y'all have that in your packet? Okay. The total amount, of course, is several roads. You had an increase and a decrease on various roads so far. It comes to a net increase of $18,405.86. Recommendation to accept this change order number 1.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hillensbeck, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Is there any discussion? Mr. Rue, I got one.
Yes, sir.
What phase is this, as far as you just showed us where they're at?
I think it's all three that come out of transportation.
I have to look at the list again. What phase you said?
Yeah, as far as this change order request is representing their first phase, first and second, or just the first phase?
Got some of the roads that went on the first phase. That's first phase. It looks like.
So what I'm saying is, we still got 2 phases to go in this road project.
See, bring it up here. Yeah, if you notice here, that is those roads, Sonny Thompson, Fife Lane, Southwood Village, Swamp Road, Manchac Point, Brown Road, Goodwood Street are included. There's some revisions to the amounts of different items that were used on those roads. And again, it's a either addition or a reduction in those quantities. And again, it came to an $18,000 change. You're right, that is the first phase. It goes up and down. If you notice, we had one reduction of $21,000 on Fife Lane, but we had a increase on Swamp Road that had to do with a lot of drains and that culverts and things we had to add for the curves that wasn't figured into the bid. We should not see this type of change in the future phases. The biggest thing was the Swamp Road, and that was a unique situation because of the narrow ditches and the fact that we had to add more piping, and that's what ran the cost up on that. If you notice the rest of it, which only had to do with basically with quantities, it was fairly within the $1,000 and $2,000 changes, and with that reduction of $1,000 and a reduction of $21,000. That is more of the norm. In most cases, they're equalized to just about what the bid is.
Okay. Any further questions? Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Item number 2, 11B, actually, is the certificate of substantial completion for the 2004 road project. This is the Barrier contract project, and it is substantially complete, and we ask for authorization to issue the certificate of substantial completion.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Thompson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Is there any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thompson.
Bill, the problems we had on this road project, have Barrier resolved all of them?
They have fulfilled their obligation as part of the contract. So again, we had a negotiation where they were going to do so much of a patchwork on some of the roads. They did complete that part of their contract to our satisfaction. So as per that, they did complete their obligation.
Any further discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
11D. Let me see.
How about C?
C. Yeah, I missed one.
Okay.
11C is actually the removal of 2 houses that we bought as part of our widening project, West Worthy Road. They are in bad shape, and Mr. Laverne Bouchard recommends that we remove the houses. We took it to the Transportation Committee. They voted for the DPW to remove the houses. With DPW forces, we can probably take down a house per day. Take us 2 days to remove it. That's the cheapest route to go. And that was the vote of the committee, was to allow DPW to take the houses down.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hillsbeck, second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes. I think you're doing good on this one, Bill.
So
This
far?
list.
So far. Okay, 11D is the Parks at Dutchtown subdivision, a three-way stop sign.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Valentine, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
11E, road to be accepted into Parish maintenance system. Oak Alley Estates, third filing. 3 roads in that filing with Oak Fields Drive, Oak Crest Avenue, Oak Landing Avenue.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Fontenot, second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
And Bluff Meadow subdivision, 1 road, Bluff Meadow Drive.
Motion. Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Item F is actually a little bit of housekeeping. This is something that we're required to do every year to the state as part of the off-system bridge replacement program. It's a certificate of compliance, and we need the resolution from the board to send it to the state.
Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Todd Lambert,
Second.
second by Mr. Valentine. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Yeah.
Mr. Thompson.
Bill, Worthy Road, where are we on the right-of-way?
The right-of-way maps are being completed. Of course, if you remember back, we had some changes in the right-of-way maps due to we're really trying to lessen the amount of right-of-way we would have to take and the amount of houses that we would have to move or buy. Right-of-way, so the design itself was reduced or changed, and the new right-of-way maps are being completed right now. As soon as they're completed, then we're going to complete our acquisition of the required right-of-way along that road. They should be completed hopefully within the next few weeks. GSA will complete those right-of-way maps.
We did have some discussion about updates on roads. One in particular was Highway 44. Highway 44 update. It's set to be bid out at the end of 206 or the beginning of 207, so that's on the move. Mr. Root did ask, and I want to remind everybody that they're working on the 207 road list. They are going on the list based on some of the other roads that have been on the list and haven't gotten in 204 or 205 and 206. So if you have anything else that you need in your district that you don't think's on the list, you need to get with him and get that on the list as soon as possible. As always, I want to invite everybody to the Transportation Committee meeting. We meet the second Tuesday of the month at 6:30, immediately following the Utility Committee. We meet in this building. As always, drive carefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fontenot. Number 12, Strategic Planning Committee.
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. I have one question, Mr. Root, before he steps away from Mike.
Mr. Hillensbeck.
Thank you. Representative Lambert, did he meet with you before the meeting about the resolution on 42?
We talked a little bit about it, but for just to notify the other council members, we did receive the Stage 0 report from DOTD's consulting engineering for Highway 42. Stage 0 is really a feasibility study, and it gives the different options, put numbers on it, and give you an indication what it might cost, and make a recommendation based on a level of service what you should do on that road. We are reviewing it at DPW right now, and an executive summary of that is going to be prepared by our office and sent to you, so you can review the executive, the summary of the report, because it's fairly large. And that's going to be coming to you within a week.
Okay, so no resolution is required or needed?
Not now. We're going to be meeting first of next week to see how we may be able to gain more money through the state, through some other grants. But this is a meeting we're going to have next week.
Okay, good. Thank you, Mr. Ray.
And number 12, strategic planning. Mr. Shakes now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a special meeting last Monday in order to finalize plans for the drainage ordinance, and that will come up later on in the agenda.
That's all you have, Mr. Shakes? All right, thank you. Finance Committee, Mr. McConnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a nice meeting last week. Had a lot of fun, got a lot of stuff done. The first item that we considered was item number A, and we announced we had a birthday coming up next year, and that's the 200th birthday of Ascension Parish, and we have a committee who is hard at work getting stuff done for this, spearheaded by Mr. Lynn Holdridge of East Ascension High School and Walt Disney World. And anyway, the committee voted unanimously to allocate up to the expenditure of up to $150,000 in legally allowable expenses for the 2007 bicentennial celebration, and we offer that as a motion.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. McConnell, second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Thank you. I love unanimity. Then we went into item 13B. We had some contracts to consider. Item 13B1 with the Mental Health Board. Item A is a legal contract with Gordon, Arata, McCollum, Duplantis, and Egan, LLP, a law firm, and that's for a maximum amount of $8,000 per year.
Chairman.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Valentine, second by Mr. Hillensbeck. Any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Then we have item 13B1B. This is it's a cooperative endeavor agreement between the Parish of Ascension and the FINS program, which is Families in Needs of Services, and the TASK, which is Truancy Assessment and Service Center. It is strictly a cooperative endeavor agreement where the parish provides office space and equipment.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shake Snyder, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Item number 13, bullet number 2A, is an agreement. It's just a renewal of a contract between Ascension Parish Government and Dr. Donald Shake Snyder
Motion
for
by
our
Mr.
mental health.
Valentine, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Item 13B2B is a similar contract with Dr. Robert Barnes.
So moved, Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Dempsey Lambert, second by Mr. Valentine. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Item 13B2C is a lease agreement between Ascension Parish, the Ascension Economic Development Corporation, and the Ascension Parish Tourist Center.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Byrigger, second by Mr. Valentine. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Item 13B2D is a little sticky one here, but we're going to get through it, I promise you. This is actually a contract. It's a financial agreement between East Ascension Consolidated Gravelly Drainage Board and the New River Soil and Water Conservation District. We considered it because it's a financial matter, and the council itself does indeed control financial matters. It was also passed by the Finance Committee, and I would ask that this body pass it as well. But we're also going to have to refer it to Mr. Todd Lambert's Drainage Board for consideration, because that is the actual contract, and that's where the funding is going to come from.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Valentine, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
And then we'll ask our secretary, Ms. Suzanne Patterson, if she would refer that over to the Drainage Board for consideration. Then we had item number 13B2E, and that is a subcontract agreement between the Parish of Ascension and the Quad Area Community Action Agency for the Emergency Shelter Grants Program. That also is a renewal of a contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Valentine, second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passed.
As we discussed earlier, item C was not actually an item that was taken up under Finance Committee, so that's going to be a separate agenda item here. But I did want to say you're going to see a little bit later on in item number 18, agenda item 18, we had a very good discussion about the budget and a presentation by the administration. It was presented to us, and essentially the highlights of the budget were pointed out. But what we're going to be considering in item 18, and I guess I can bring it up at that time, but it does need a lot of further discussion, and I would hope that when we call this public hearing an additional meeting, I would hope that we could have just a separate budget meeting. That is something that we've done in the past, Mr. Chairman, a full meeting of the council as the Finance Committee, as you wish, with the administration, so that we can discuss the budget and only the budget. And I would hope that when we call that special meeting and the public hearing, we can do it like that.
Mr. McConnell, I'm going to yield to you and your committee. I would like to see you call a special meeting to discuss the budget through your finance committee.
Thank you, sir. And I'll schedule that with the administration and with the concurrence of the council. But that's our Finance Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. McConnell.
You're welcome.
We're going to move on to C. This is an update on the Mental Health Board. Ms. Talia Gotro, the chairwoman.
Thank you. And tonight, I have two board members that is going to give the update for us, but I have a problem tonight, and I would like to see if we could have it solved in our ordinance of October the 21st, 2004. We are to meet with our service agents, who is our mental health director, and a secretary. They have been pulled in April by administration and again in September. Well, tonight we had this meeting, and our mental health director did show up. But it is hard to do business if you do not know the facts and what's going on in the community from your mental health director. This is a 2% dedicated tax that pays the salaries of these two employees, and they are exempt employees, so that means they draw no overtime pay. So if we could have, and it cost me $100 tonight to do the paperwork and to get a tape recorder to do this meeting. So we definitely need a decision on when we consult with the mental health director if she cannot attend the meetings, and who pays for the paperwork, the tape recorder, and etc., to see to it that the right paperwork, recordings, or what have you, is kept at this board meeting. And now I'll turn it over to Ms. Baptiste.
Councilman Savoy, may I have permission to pass out?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Councilman Chair Savoy, council members, parish president, citizens of Ascension Parish, thank you for this opportunity to present a report of the work of Ascension Parish Mental Health and Addictive Disorder Advisory Board, of which I am co-chairman, serving with Chairman Gotro and myself, or Mr. Jerry Butler, Mr. Brian Lambert, Mrs. Brenda Haddett. A preliminary report was sent to President Hughes on October 16, 2006. In that report, programs being offered by the Mental Health Department and an update on the present operations was given. A copy of this report is included in the documentation you have just received. Your support of our mission and purpose is vital to the success of the mental health program. This mission includes communicating with the service agencies to provide feedback regarding satisfaction of services, assessment of services, identification of where these services should be provided, to make recommendation to the President of the kinds of mental health and addictive disorder programs needed, to define budgetary needs and submit a budget to the parish president, to recommend for approval to the President the director of the mental health program, to make and promulgate rules and regulations related to programs provided, to define the duties of the director and all employees, and to review all recommendations of the director for hiring of counselors and other professionals. I'm here to report to you on the status of our ongoing programs and the financial viability of these programs as part of the designated duties of our board, spelled out in the ordinance of October 2004. At the beginning of 2006, we had 5 grants available to provide services to our citizens. Presently, we only have 4. A copy is in your packet. Substance abuse prevention services by Capital Area Human Service District was renewed on July 1st, 2006 through June 30th, 2007 in the amount of $37,860 for the year, with a balance of $30,181.28. Substance abuse treatment services by Capital Area Human Service District was renewed on July 1st, 2006 through June 30th, 2007 in the amount of $60,000 with a balance of $43,825.64. Governor's Safe and Drug-Free Schools and Communities by Governor's Office in the amount of $40,000 for the year with a balance of $40,000. Emergency shelter grants from the state renewed on July 1st of 2006 to June 30th, 2007 in the amount of $20,500. Without the approval or knowledge of this board, the grant for drug-free communities, which was a coalition grant with prevention in mind for $100,000, granted on October 1st of 2005 to September 30th, 2006, was not reapplied for. The deadline for applications of this grant has passed, and we have lost our window of opportunity for these funds to serve the mental health needs of our community. In monthly reports from the director between September and October, monies from this grant in the amount of $45,581 are not accounted for. Additionally, a balance of $24,964.30 in July 2006 for the Governor's Safe, Free, and Drug-Free Schools and Community is missing on the October 2006 report. Numerous requests for public records regarding the fund balances of these grants and how monies are being dispersed have not been provided to the board until September of 2006. Our programs are being cut and fund balances are questionable. In addition, a recent report mailed to me by the director stated that 14 staff from 1104 to 1006 have resigned or either been terminated. This is a cause for concern. In treatment of children with mental health problems, the bonding relationship with the counselors is vitally important. With such a high turnover of staff, one must question if the quality of service is being compromised. Our board is tasked with assessing needs and finding programs to meet these needs. We are also to oversee the use of funds, making sure that the mental health needs of the communities are being met. We desire to build self-confidence, independence, and good character in our patients. Programs for mental health include prevention and treatment. Both are needed for a successful result. 1 ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Now, I would like to recognize Ms. Renda Hadet, who is presently working with the state of Louisiana in the mental health field and is one of our board members. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Randa Hodnett, and I am the newest board member, new to the Mental Health Board since 2005. I would just like to thank you all for your support, and in particular Ms. Fontenot and Mr. Savoy for attending our board meeting, Ms. Fontenot's continuous support of the board, and I would just like to stress at this time the importance of an advisory board. We can play a very important role in helping to advocate for the needs of the citizens of Ascension Parish. We are planning to fund a comprehensive needs assessment so we can then allocate resources, or propose to allocate resources in the most efficient way. We are going to really emphasize outcomes using evidence-based programs and measuring how effective these programs are for our citizens. So again, I'd just like to thank you for your support, ask for your continued support, and invite you all to attend our meetings to see how we can really advocate for the citizens of Ascension Parish and help you all in doing your job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Number 14, zoning review ID 1572.06, portion of Track 5 for Swamp Road Partners LLC, located on the south side of Swamp Road, approximately 700 feet west of Airline Highway, to amend Ascension Parish zoning map from medium intensity residential to mixed use, and this is to accept or deny. Anyone has any questions for Mr. Lance Brock? He'll be more than happy to answer.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a motion to accept planning and zoning's recommendation.
Second. Got a motion by Mr. Byrigger, second by Mr. Todd Lambert to accept the recommendations of the department. Is there any discussion? Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 15, zoning review ID 1574.06, lot MB1 of the Mary Button property for Harvey Weber, located on the south side of Stringer Bridge Road, approximately 1,150 feet west of Beco Road, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from rural to crossroads commercial. And this is to accept or deny.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a motion to accept planning and zoning's recommendation.
Got a motion by Mr. Byrigger, second by Mr. Todd Lambert to accept the recommendations of planning department.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Shake Snyder.
Please let it be known that their recommendation was to deny, so that people will know.
Thank you, Mr. Shake Snyder. Mr. Brock, you're going to have something to say.
Okay,
so,
thanks. The recommendation.
Let's go back up to the first one,
Okay.
which was the recommendation. What was the recommendation?
The recommendation was to deny the request.
Okay. And the one for Ms. Mary Butler?
That was to deny also.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Shake Snyder. Number 16, zoning review ID 1576.06, lot 6 of the Robert Wilson tract for Robert Wilson Jr., located on the northwest corner of Louisiana Highway 30 and Robert Wilson Road, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from business park to mixed use. Mr. Brock.
The recommendation was to accept the recommendation.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 17, definition of bed and breakfast. Mr. Brock.
The recommendation was to accept the definition as written, which is an overnight, the definition of a bed and breakfast. If you want me to read it out.
Yeah, please.
Okay, yes, sir. An overnight boarding establishment operating with one structure with no more than 10 private bedrooms. Breakfast, including a continental breakfast, shall be served in the morning, and the proprietor or his representative shall live in the establishment.
Ms. Fontenot.
Why is it necessary for them to live in the establishment? We have several bed and breakfasts already in Ascension Parish, and no one lives there. Are we hindering someone else from doing the same?
Ma'am, this is just a recommendation that came out of the Planning and Zoning
Mr. Chairman,
Commission.
I offer a motion to deny planning and zoning's recommendation.
Got a
Which is to accept the definition.
Got a motion by Mr. Byrie, second by Ms. Fontenot.
Wait.
Mr. Shakespeare.
Discussion. And I do have a bed and breakfast. It's not located in Ascension, well, it is located in Ascension Parish, but in the city of Downsville. So I have been researching this issue, and basically all of the, I'm fine, and I think everybody else is fine with the definition, except that what has evolved with bed and breakfasts is basically people taking old buildings and redoing them and having people coming there, and they meet them there, check them in, and then they use the facility and enjoy it, for enjoyment. And so what we have here, I think the definition is fine except for someone living there, and I would like to offer a substitute motion that we accept this without the last part of the definition and just stop where breakfast is served in the morning.
I'll second that.
Substitute motion by Mr. Shakespeare, second by Mr. McConnell, to strike shall live at the establishment. Any further discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. You got that, Mr. Brown?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bowers, you okay with that?
Thank
you. Their faces off.
There was a motion.
There was
There was a substitute motion.
on it, accept or
Substitute
deny.
motion passed.
Correct.
Okay.
You okay with that?
I was behind, but I've caught up.
More importantly, Ms. Suzanne, you got that?
We're moving fast
Thank
here,
you.
Mr. Babbitt.
All right, we've got some introduction of ordinances here. To amend the 2006 budget and adopt the 2007 budget, and to schedule public hearings for November the 16th.
I move to introduce the ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McConnell, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any
Just that we will call a special finance committee to consider budget only.
That is correct.
Long before this time.
Thank you, Mr. McConnell.
You're welcome.
Any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Introduction of an ordinance to consider servitude revocation of the Dan Picketing property.
I move to introduce the ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McConnell, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 20, introduction of an ordinance to consider a servitude revocation of the Bruce Hunt property. Motion by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Second by Ms. Fontenot. Is there any question? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 21, introduction of an ordinance to consider a servitude revocation for the Gerald Gotro property.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Valentine.
I'd like to move that we do not introduce this ordinance. Would like a second to discuss.
Motion by Mr. Valentine. Second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Mr. Valentine.
Okay. I'll plead my case first to the council, and then naturally if the council sees fit to make a substitute motion to introduce, that's fine. The problem with this particular servitude revocation, typically council members get the revocations like this and we really don't give it a second thought, but there is some basis behind this revocation. This is a house that has been built for profit by a builder that essentially has encroached upon a servitude by 2 feet. This, and it's not in your packet, this actually the builder enlisted the services of an attorney who came before the Board of Adjustments, and they were denied more for safety reasons than anything, because of the house is so close to a parish road, a single lane parish road that services several houses. In fact, I think there's 8 houses down this road, if I'm not mistaken. 4 houses, I guess, or 5 new houses and 3 houses in the back. The utilities all naturally granted no objections on the servitude, but if you'll read in the back, it's dependent on the fact that the next time the parish maintains a road that we move the road. And I don't think that the parish should be moving road to accommodate a builder who's built a house for profit. The house is only 85% complete, and so therefore I move that we do not introduce this ordinance.
Got a motion by Mr. Valentine to deny introduction of an ordinance for the Gerald Gotro property. Second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Is there any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 22, introduction of an ordinance to consider granting to Ascension Water Company a water franchise within the parish of Ascension.
I move to introduce the ordinance.
Absolutely.
Motion by Mr. Dempsey Lambert, second by Mr. McConnell. Any question? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 23.
Mr. Chairman, that ordinance, there's an ordinance which adopts a very long, lengthy contract, which is the actual franchise agreement. I just asked the council to review that prior to the public hearing. There's a lot of details in that contract. So just remember, that's two documents. The ordinance itself basically adopts a separate franchise agreement contract.
And discussion, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. President.
As you know, we've been working on this for a long time, and I'm speaking with Mr. Diaz today, who was the lead attorney on this for the government. He alone had 731 emails on this item since the date in 05, so it's been really worked good. So we just want to, we've had a lot of people from our team, URS, the Corps of Engineers, really working on this. Our fire districts, Ms. Fontenot represented the council in most of these meetings, and from our Public Works Department and myself personally involved in this. And so I just want to point out to you that please read this, and I sent something to you this week asking you to turn in questions that you had. I think a couple of you did get with us on some questions that I think have been answered. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Fontenot.
I had prepared a little statement when I saw that it had finally come through in our packet, because I thought there were some thank yous that needed to be made. In October of 2004, Councilman Adrian Thompson, Chairman of the Utilities Committee, and fellow committee members tasked administration to begin negotiations once again with Ascension Water Company. As a representative of that committee, I was tasked to follow this franchise negotiation. In the past 2 years, many meetings took place with a team of professionals steering the process and working closely with Ascension Water to get an agreement both would benefit from. Thanks to Attorney Ricky Babin, who did much of the groundwork in the previous negotiations. Tonight, I also wish to thank Sean Vicknair with the Corps of Engineers, Jeff Edmonds of URS for their diligence in the process. They worked closely with administration, staff, and others to accomplish this franchise agreement. I particularly wish to thank Attorney Jeff Diaz for all his efforts in making sure that Ascension Parish had a good agreement. He left no stone unturned. Our Attorney Jeff Diaz and Attorney Jim Ellis, who represented Ascension Water Company, worked hard on the final details to make sure that both parties had the best contract possible. Tonight, we celebrate the fact that Ascension Parish and Ascension Water Company are in agreement with the franchise contract introduced tonight. Because of the efforts of all of the above and many not mentioned, the citizens of Ascension Parish will be the beneficiary of this franchise agreement, and I think that our mission as a council has been accomplished.
Thank you. Mr. Shakespeare.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ricky, I sent Jeff an email, and I didn't get a chance to check my emails today, but...
He responded back to you about the utility districts?
Yes. How does that fit in?
It doesn't. This is a contract with the Parish of Ascension. Several of these utility companies Several of these utility districts have their own independent agreements with various water companies, like Water District Number 2 in Adrian's district. There is a separate contract with Ascension Water, i.e. Baton Rouge Water, with that agreement. Those agreements are still intact. This is a parish government granting a franchise to a public utility, no more, no less. It does not affect any of the rights or obligations with those existing districts.
Okay, so they would be doing separate franchise agreements.
They're not franchise agreements. They're separate water supply contracts, various other contracts. Okay. And franchises are not exclusive. You can grant franchises to as many water companies as you wish.
Okay.
Any further questions? Ms. Suzanne, I need some help. I done lost my place. Do I have a motion in a second?
Yes.
It's been passed.
It's been passed. Sorry about that.
Good job.
Long hours.
Number 23, acceptance of bids. Purchasing manager, Ms. Bonnie Burrell. Bunker gear for Fire District Number 1.
Good evening, Councilman. On September 26th, the Purchasing Department received 2 bids for bunker gear and accessories for Fire District Number 1. We recommend accepting the bid for BGS, the lowest qualifying bid. And that's upon a recommendation of the Fire Board.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Thompson. Any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Burrell.
Thank you.
Number 24, building condemnation proceedings for Audrey Green property. Chief Building Official, Mr. Laverne Bourgeois.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and council members. Tonight we have before you a not a revocation, Jerry, but a condemned building that we need to discuss with the council and give me direction. We've been at a diplomacy for this building for about 6 months to no avail. I come to you tonight with the guidance, and the building is located at 3181 Robinson Lane. I'm asking for guidance tonight.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
You got a motion by Mr. Byrigger, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Question?
That's for condemnation, by the way.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes, I see Mrs. Green in the audience. She may want to say something. I don't know.
Good evening. I'm Audrey Green. The property in question, I do not solely own. It was family property, okay? And I have sent a letter to you telling you that it was my intentions to take it down, okay? I've tried several times to get someone to take it down for me, but I seem to be the only body out of Limmerville that needs to take a house down. Have any of you people been to Limmerville lately? Do you know where Limmerville is? Okay. Everything down that street where my house is falling apart. Mine is still standing except what they stole off of it. So I know it needs to come down, but I seem to be the only body that has a letter saying that mine needs to come down.
All right, that's all you have, Ms. Green?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Mr. Shea Snyder.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was one of many that they're working on, and it has just happened to come up at this point. But there are other houses that are in disrepair that are causing health hazards that they are working on very, very hard. There are requirements, and it takes a long period of time, and they have to attempt to contact everyone. And so you'll be seeing periodically as we go on more and more of them come up now. Ms. Green was right. There are numerous houses on the properties there that are health hazard, and we're working to get them removed as soon as possible.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes, Ms. Green, lately have you asked anybody or tried to get anybody to dismantle this house?
Yes. Whoever, I can't remember his name, but Thursday State, he gave me the name of somebody named Robert Jackson.
Yeah.
I called him, he never returned my call. So they had like 10, 15 days to find him. And the other guy that was supposed to do it for me, he went to work in the Florida Ravine, so I'm just stuck right now.
Would I be out of order to make a substitute motion to give Ms. Green 60 days to have the building towed down?
You have the...
I'd like to make that as a substitute motion.
Second. You got a substitute motion by Mr. Thompson to give Ms. Green an additional 60 days?
Yes, sir.
60 days to act on it. Second by Mr. Oliver Joseph.
If not, the parish would proceed with the dismounting.
Proceedings. Okay. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind.
Byrigger.
Yeah, Mr. Laverne.
Yes.
Can you give us a little bit of history about the correspondence and the steps taken and
Sure.
how everything's going?
Certainly. On I have it listed here, a time frame. On April 20th, 2006, we spoke with Ms. Green about her residence at the complaint at her properties here in Gonzales about the properties located at 3181 Robinson Lane. And then April 26th, we sent a certified letter, which is by the ordinance mandating that we do such to notify legally about a certified letter. And the letter was the request for a letter of intent. Ms. Green did give us a letter of intent on May 16th, said she would have the house demolition and haul away as soon as possible. June 2006, September 2006, we met with her on several occasions, and it was the same, trying to help her get somebody. We recommended 2 folks to her. For whatever reason, it didn't take place, as she mentioned, and she's telling it straight. And it just came to time after 6 months of diplomacy, nothing has transpired, and therefore we come to the council tonight to ask for your guidance.
Any further questions?
What day?
Mr. McConnell.
What day is 60 days from today?
The 19th. December. It'd be December 19th, 18th, somewhere in there.
Ms. Suzanne, could we make a notation to put that on the agenda for the second?
I think
Mr. McConnell.
Yeah.
It's automatic. Ms. Green has 60 days. At the end of 60 days.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, but I've seen automatic houses not get automatically torn down. You know what I'm saying?
That's correct.
And help us eliminate that then.
The order is that you are declaring the building to be a dangerous building tonight. You are deferring the action of the building official to remove the home for 60 days. Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
That's correct.
Motion, that's right.
Okay. Got it.
Yes.
That should be pretty clean.
Yep.
All right. Well, is there any opposition to the substitute motion? Having none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laverne. Number 25, resolution to hold the first meeting of the month of the Ascension Parish Council in the courtroom of the Ascension Parish Courthouse in Donaldsonville.
So
Mr.
moved.
Shea Snyder.
Second.
We got a motion by Mr. Shea Snyder, second by Mr. Thompson. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 26, we got extension of public hearing from October 5th, 2006, regular council meeting to consider the Ascension Parish drainage ordinance. Do I hear a motion to reopen?
Move to reopen the public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McConnell, second by Ms. Fontenot. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. I do have 2 that signed up. First one's going to be Ms. Catherine Goff.
Good evening. Listen up, every landowner in Ascension Parish. The way you develop property, whether it be a dog house or a penthouse, mobile homes included, is about to change dramatically should the council pass this piece of bad legislation. You may live in Bruley or Modeste, Darrow or Hillaryville, Dutchtown, Prairieville, Sanama, Galvez, or near Sorrento. Your last name may be Thibault, Gautreaux, or Boudreaux. Imagine this scenario. You've decided to build the home of your dreams or give a family member an acre to build theirs. With your plans in hand, you head to the permitting department on Church Point Road. You learn that other state and federal permits will be required. Visit the Corps of Engineers, the Coast Guard, FEMA, the Department of Environmental Quality, Transportation and Development for a driveway permit, the Pontchartrain Levee District. There's more. You are required to build 1 foot above the center of the existing roadway, the nearest sanitary sewer manhole. Do they exist in Ascension Parish? The record flood level at your location. Who knows this? And the nearest FEMA base flood elevation, which is 2 miles away. This means more dirt, more money, and more delays. When the foundation finally passes inspection, the parish building official informs you that for every shovel of dirt that you placed on your property, you must remove a shovel of dirt because your property is below the base flood elevation, even though your house is now 3 feet off the ground. If you know the Director of Public Works, you might be able to get a waiver. You didn't want a detention pond. Your new fragrance is off deep woods. Your new vocabulary includes contours, detention systems, major streams, natural outfall, peak flow, post condition, ridge lines, and water surface profiles. Webster's won't work anymore. Studies and hydraulic calculations are required, and even if you are a mathematician, you must hire a qualified professional engineer licensed to practice in the state of Louisiana. This will mean no living room furniture for at least 6 months. You were hoping to be in before Christmas, and your wife calls you on your cell phone and asks, "How's everything going?" And you reply, "When's the next election?" Council members, this proposed ordinance is fatally flawed, in the words of Willard Quintmar. Widespread use of detention ponds turns Ascension Parish into a reservoir. We have thrown out common sense for professionals' opinion. There are no penalties, no teeth, and we have no drainage police. Without a major overhaul, this proposed ordinance is impractical, cannot be enforced, will increase costs and red tape, and provides no additional flood protection for existing properties. Citizens are crying for solutions. Politicians answer with a piece of worthless paper. Developers keep developing. Citizens plead, and politicians hide behind the attorneys who scare them with the threats of lawsuits. Developers keep developing. Politicians answer they would like to do something, but their hands are tied. We have jawbone and wishbone. It's time for some backbone. It's time for this council to represent the interests of the people. Thank you.
Next, we got Mr. Jeff Ordendorf.
Good evening, Council, Parish President. Had a few comments to make about the ordinance. First thing is maybe kind of beating a dead horse to death, but I'm really disappointed in the outcome about the conversations regarding analyzing upstream and downstream existing conditions when a new development is proposed. I want the public, the citizens of Ascension Parish, to know that it was decided that nothing can be added either in the ordinance or drainage policy to require DPW or the review agency to look at current upstream and downstream problems before a development can proceed. The current property owners have only one thing that protects them from new developments. That is, the calculations on paper by a drainage impact study that the development will have zero impact on upstream or downstream drainage. Again, not good enough. I've also heard many times that DPW and the review agent can require a higher than 10-year storm design. Has anyone actually studied this ordinance? The only place in the ordinance that states this is section 5B4. I'm going to read that. For major streams as defined by the Department of Public Works, the engineer review agency may require this analysis be based upon a higher storm frequency than a 10-year event, particularly when the difference between the 10-year and 100-year water surface is greater than 18 inches. And looking at this, you will see that it only pertains to developments that have a major stream traversing through the property. Also, it states an analysis may be required, not drainage design. I can think of a lot of property that does not have channels or major streams traversing through it. So I ask, where does it specifically say that DPW or the review agent can require development be designed and built to a higher than 10-year event? Finally, it was brought up by a developer at the last Strategic Planning Committee meeting that there is nothing in the ordinance that prevents someone from bringing in fill dirt over a period of time with some future plans down the road of building a house. This is something I didn't think about, and no one else had brought it up before, to my knowledge. A good example is a fill that was placed on the entire property next to the feed store on Airline Highway close to Bayou Manshake. Could this ordinance stop that if it was in place at the time? I would like Mr. Rue or Mr. Sanjay to elaborate on the conversation at that meeting about this so the council can be aware of that problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Anyone else wishing to speak on this public hearing?
Motion closed, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Bowery to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second by Mr. McConnell. Is there any opposition? Having none, motion passes. Number 27, the ordinance itself. What's the wishes of the council?
I move the ordinance.
Got a motion by Mr. McConnell.
Second.
Second by Mr. Shakespeare. Discussion.
A question. Since we've made changes to it, do we have to? Rick is scowling at me. We don't have to reread this thing, do we? Or do we point out?
You would have to make a motion. You have to make a motion to amend, adding the changes from the original introduced ordinance.
Then my motion, Mr. Chairman, was I move the ordinance as amended by the different discussions having taken place.
Motion by Mr. McConnell, second by Mr. Shakespeare. Discussion. Ms. Fontenot.
The ordinance that was brought tonight as a substitute for the one that was introduced does not have the corrections in it. Nothing's highlighted in it. We introduced a different ordinance at the meeting when it was introduced. We do need to make some amendments, and I have a set of amendments that need to be made, prepared to coincide with the one that was introduced. Mr. Savoy asked that any changes be made, that they would be highlighted and put into the document, that we would not have to reread the document. I have several documents here. This gets very tasking when we have to do a job like this and go back and reread things. I received this new ordinance with a new policy Tuesday afternoon by email. For some reason, I couldn't open it up on my email. So I requested that they send me a underlined, highlighted, or redlined version by fax. As I have a color copier, I could receive it that way. I got the copy by fax, but it didn't indicate what was changed. I have a problem with the fact that they brought us a new policy that we had never seen before. From Tuesday evening to now, I did not have time to go through this word by word to compare the new policy with the one that we requested that they attach. We requested that they attach the current policy that is being used by Planning and Zoning, that was adopted by Planning and Zoning in May of '03. To my knowledge, this new policy that sprung forth this week has not been run through Planning and Zoning. It has not been approved by Planning and Zoning. It has not been seen at the Drainage Board meeting. Don't know if it's been run through legal. There's a lot of problems that I have with it. I have several proposals that were discussed. Some of them were amendments that Chairman of the Drainage Board, Todd Lambert, had requested. One of them in particular was that on a piece of land that an individual wanted to build a house, that they would be allowed to put a pad underneath that house 10 feet out. Now, we're talking about just individuals here, not developers. That we didn't find in the new document. There's several other things, and like I said, there's a new policy now that they're wishing to attach that we have not seen before. This amended copy that I have tonight, that I've given to everybody, has the amendments that need to be placed in the ordinance that was introduced at a previous council meeting. It also has, as part of the ordinance, to be incorporated in the ordinance, and that's how it should be done, the policy that is approved by Planning and Zoning in May of '03. It has the definitions from the PUD ordinance, and it has the other definitions that they had that they needed to accompany this. These things need to be incorporated in the in the ordinance that we introduced, and the packet is all here, and I make a motion to do that. Substitute motion to amend it.
To amend, let's get this straight, Ms. Fontenot. To amend the one that was in our packet
No,
tonight.
to amend the one that was introduced.
Amend it with those amendments in your hand.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I think Ms. Fontenot wants to amend the policy, the ordinance that we're doing. Is that?
That's correct.
Okay.
The ordinance that was introduced in the previous meeting, she wants to introduce it with substitute or amended with the proposals that she has tonight. Ricky.
Sir.
We have to read all of these amendments because
Stop at a few.
Excuse me. Got a substitute motion to amend the drainage ordinance.
Yeah, that's just a few.
Let me get it. Hang on. Let me get a second first before we go any further. We got a motion to a substitute motion to amend it to add amendments to the drainage ordinance. Do I hear a second?
Chairman.
I second it for discussion.
Second, Mr. Todd Lambert. Mr. Thompson.
Is there any way we could postpone this hearing until we could go over the...
We closed the public hearing?
Yeah.
What?
Because we got about 8 amendments to this thing.
Mr. Chair.
All right. I want to call on the Strategic Planning Committee Chairman, Mr. Shake Snyder, so he can bring us up to speed on what's been discussed and what's taken place over the last couple of meetings.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Regarding this ordinance.
Okay. At the last meeting 2 weeks ago, this issue came up, at which time we looked at any discussions, and we had a special meeting to discuss the drainage ordinance before that, and we wasn't quite finished going through all of the concerns of the councilmen and women that had brought forth to us, and so we had another special meeting that was convened last Monday, at which time everyone was invited. We went down the list of everyone's concern, including the information Ms. Fontenot talked about, the field underpad. It was discussed. All of these issues were discussed, and we came around to a consensus as to how to handle them, as to why we did something and why we did not. It was the consensus of all of the members of the Strategic Planning Committee at that time that we made some changes and adjustments according to what was brought to us, and we put it out in the form of the drainage ordinance. And it was asked to send us a clean form so that we could look at it and vote on it at this meeting. And that's what we did. A lot of these issues were discussed at that time. They were brought up. We discussed the merits. We discussed pluses and minuses. And we came to an agreement as to how to handle each one of these issues. And this is reflected in the current ordinance. We ask anyone that has any input to come forward. And again, as we do this and we get basically the same issues, we bring it, we discuss it, we go through council, and we come back with the same solutions to them that all people could agree. It's something that certainly I don't agree with everything in it. That's the compromise that we have in order to get the drainage ordinance in place so that we can protect the people of the parish. But it's something that that we feel like for the first time is going to give our best interest to protect the people of the parish. I would like Mr. Sanjay to come up to explain a couple of issues that were brought up tonight so that the public can see how we came about those things.
Mr. Sanjay?
First of all, Mr. Sanjay, please explain that people in Ascension Parish, if you build and you're not in the floodplain, this really does not apply to you for the field.
That is correct, and also there was a lot of discussion at the Strategic Planning Committee about the concern of homeowners interpreting that they would have to do detailed drainage impact studies and whatnot. That was one of the 3 changes that were made. We added a statement at the very end of the ordinance that basically stated for homeowners, residential construction, that they could simply apply for a permit with the floodplain administrator, and that would not require the extensive studies that people thought would be required.
So the process would be that they would apply for a permit with the floodplain administrator.
That's correct.
And they would follow that process.
That's correct. The other change that was made
Mr. Sanjay, can you let us know where you're at, where you're looking at, so we can...
I'm sorry. That is in the very end of the ordinance. It was section Roman numeral 12D, the very last sentence, where individual homeowners are proposing.
Chairman, while we're on that.
Mr. Todd Lambert.
Mr. Sanjay, maybe Mr. Rue can answer this. Permits obtained from the floodplain administrator, what kind of permit or what process is that going to be? To let this, the floodplain manager make the call on whether or not you can bring in, whether you have to get an engineer, or how is that process going to take place? What's her objection of which way she's going to go with it?
Well, again,
which would be Ms. Marion.
Part of this has to do with the policy that's recommended to go along with the ordinance and all, but basically in the addressing process, for when somebody's going to gains a piece of land, before they do anything on it, they have to get an address. That addressing process goes through the floodplain administrator immediately to look at it from a floodplain management site. At that point in time, the floodplain manager, before an address is issued, will talk to the person and determine that do they need to go any further with it? Are they in the floodplain? Do they go over with them the type of field, and really give them a waiver of any other things that's necessary based on where they're at, based on the elevation, look at the fact of just that some of the not only the base flood elevation information, but also the information that DPW has about the flooding in that area. So again, this is part of the process of floodplain management, and that's how that process would work.
But I guess what I'm saying is, if the floodplain manager, recommends that they're in a flood zone area, and would they recommend that they go outside and hire an engineer to show that they're not going to affect any drainage issues?
No. DPW.
They won't have to do that?
No, not for individual landowners.
Okay. Just the way it's written,
That's right. And that's when DPW. That's when DPW gets involved and provides a waiver of certain things that's not necessary.
You can't get the waiver.
Mr. Lambert, you finished?
For now, yeah.
Anyone else? Mr. McConnell?
Mr. Chairman, I'm afraid that we're all confused up here. I don't think we know what we're voting on. No fooling. No fooling. Just a moment. Just a moment. There were several changes that were discussed at strategic planning. Some voted up and some voted down. But what was presented to us tonight was what was originally introduced, and then Ms. Fontenot presented several amendments, and I don't know what they are. It's a multi-page document, and I honestly don't know. After listening to the discussion that's going on here, I don't think any of us, I certainly don't know what I'm voting on here. And it's kind of like a constitutional amendment. When I don't know what I'm voting on, I vote no. And so I'm going to withdraw my motion to move this ordinance. Now, Ms. Fontenot's motion is for her amendments, and she may want to redo that. But I'm withdrawing my motion because I don't think we're ready to vote on anything. I would think the best thing to do would be to vote this thing down and then come back at a later time with a clean copy that everybody can understand and have certain agreements on. I have colleagues on either side of me who are pointing out that this particular passage means one thing or it means another thing. And I just think there's drainage is too important in this parish. It's too important that we go off half-cocked, or that we go off and we vote on something that we think we voted on one thing, and in fact we voted on something else. And well, I hate to say this because I wanted to go ahead and get this thing on the books and at least get some protection going. But I think the best thing to do so that we can come up with a clean copy is to vote this thing down and put in all of those clean amendments that we feel belong in here. Because I can't vote on a multi-page amendment tonight that's just been presented to me tonight. So I'm going to withdraw my motion, and then somebody can, Mr. Babin perhaps can advise us on a good clean motion what to do with this thing, because it's Frankenstein's monster right now, and it definitely needs to be prettied up a little.
Well taken, Mr. McConnell. I'm going to ask that you keep your motion on the table until so we can continue some dialogue here. I'd like to hear from other council members, and then we'll take action.
All right,
I'll come back to you.
I'll acquiesce for the time being.
Thank you. Mr. Byringer.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to agree with one of the speakers earlier. I believe we do have a fatally flawed ordinance, and I think Mr. Babin may agree also. He just pointed out a couple things, and he may have a couple comments also about definitions. And just real quick, for instance, and Mr. Babin just pointed out, and I had it underlined also, under development, part of the definition of development is, well, I'll just read the definition.
Where are you, Mr. Bard?
I'm not sure, Mr. President. I got 4 different ordinances up here, and I happen to have, it's in the definition part of it, where I have it underlined.
It's under Section 2, applicability. The ordinance shall be applicable to any proposed
definition of development.
Okay.
The division of a parcel of land into 2 or more parcels, the construction, reconstruction, conversion, structural alteration, relocation, enlargement of any buildings or structures in use or change in use of buildings or land, or any extension of any use of land, or any clearing, grading, or other movement of land. Now, I believe the definition of movement of land is very broad. If we till up a garden in our backyard, we just move land. You better get a surveyor, you better get an engineer, you better get a permit from God knows who, and then you may be able to build your garden. And that may not be the intent, but that's what this ordinance says must happen. If I'm a sugarcane farmer and I want to plant my sugarcane, make roads, I better get an engineer, a surveyor, a few permits, and then I may be able to plant my crop. I know that's not the intent, but that's what this ordinance says. It's fatally flawed.
Anyone else?
If Mr. Babin wants to talk to other definitions, I'm not sure. But
well, hold on. Let's hear from Mr. Valentine. You got something?
I don't want to, prolong this any longer than we have to. I'm going to agree with both my colleagues here, especially Mr. McConnell, who admitted it, rushed to judgment. Now he's changed his mind. That's good, because I think it is a rush here, and I know the administration probably has some reservations. I mean, you don't want to see us pass something that half of us up here don't know exactly what it says, and it's because it's been changed so many times. It hasn't been read in the proper form. We got to add amendments. Flow patterns and filling in floodways. I mean, if anybody wants to construct a driveway in Mr. Savoy's district, because he's just pretty much the flood man, everybody's got to go get a survey done to do it. So you got some comments, Parish President? Maybe we can end this discussion. And I'm in favor of what Mr. McConnell said. Let's kill this ordinance. And I hate to say it, let's start over. And we're going to have to do it. Let's do it right.
Mr. Chairman. if we
Mr.
could.
President.
Thank you. If you recall, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we asked all of you to mark up the ordinance, redline it. The only one that's giving it to me is Ms. Fontenot.
I brought it to strategic, though.
Okay, well, I'm just
where it
saying,
needed to
the
go.
only one I've gotten so I could give to Mr. Sanjay was the one from Ms. Fontenot. So, and I think you made some great obviously, if we're not ready, let's don't do it. But please get the stuff written down, because, I mean, Kent and his committees and strategic plan, I don't know how many special meetings they've had on this, but it's been a ton. We've had special meetings with Mr. Sanjay and Mr. Rue trying to get through this. So please, Kent, is this the one in our packet tonight? Is this the one that strategic planning approved?
No, it's not. And that's the point of confusion.
So is this the one that was introduced 4 weeks ago?
Yes, and that's the point of confusion.
Parish President, you're confused too. That's
Now,
my point.
Okay. Who was the attorney, Kent, that was drafting up the ordinance after
O'Neill Parish.
after the strategic plan 2 weeks ago? Mr. Parrington?
Yes.
Okay. Let's do this then, ladies, and let's get Ricky, Mr. Parrington, and Mr. Sanjay all in the same room. Let's get a working meeting with 3 or 4, however you guys want to do it. You, the whole council, I don't think that's going to work. If you guys will write down, mark up, and I don't know what copy to even tell you to mark up now. I guess all of them. Well, we're going to do everything in here is not flawed, guys.
I agree.
So we got to have a way of identifying. We start all over. We've been, what, 2 years now working on this?
It hadn't been but 2 years, so
we're moving. I recommend, Mr. Chairman, this is what we do. We just
Defer it back to
I guess, strategic planning. But please mark it up and get it to Ken or to me or to Michael Sanjay or somebody. Exactly what you think's wrong with it, like Ms. Fontenot has done, and what you think is right with it.
Excuse me.
Okay. And then we get the attorneys, look at it from the legal standpoint there, and Mr. Sanjay is remember, Mr. Sanjay works for the Planning and Zoning Commission. And he is the review agency for that group. So yeah, let's not just keep going, spend another hour here tonight and we're not going to do it. So yeah, please vote it down and let's get it done now. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Real quick, we've gone through this, spent many hours on this document. It is an important document that we do need to move forward with. But with the serious confusion that we've got right now, we already closed the public hearing, we reopened it, we extended the public hearing, and the best, cleanest thing to do is vote it down, take it, and remesh it. That's my recommendation. Mr. McConnell.
Exactly, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I think part of the confusion, and the confusion I think originated with me, when I made the motion to move this ordinance, I really thought I was moving the ordinance that we had changed and made all of our amendments to after the discussions as strategic planning. But then I'm finding it's a procedural problem. The ordinance that we actually have in front of us is the one that was originally read these many weeks ago. And now we have all of things. So that's where the confusion is coming in. It's a procedural thing, and Mr. President, it is not my intention to throw this thing out. Certainly not. However, to clean it up, we've got to put the brakes on this and just put a halt. I think we know what we want to do. I don't think we're all that far apart. I think most of Mrs. Fontenot's amendments that she has provided here tonight were actually discussed and passed in strategic planning, but I don't know that. I think what we need to do is what Mr. Valentine said: throw all of this out, vote it down, however procedurally we need to do it, then come up with a clean document that is then read to this council and to the public, and then we can debate and vote upon that. Now, Mr. Babin, do I need to withdraw my motion, or do we just need to vote this thing down?
The cleanest thing to do would be vote it down and start over, but I don't think the problem is committee discussion or council discussion. I got a pretty good idea of what this committee wanted. What we need is to assimilate those suggestions into a document and circulate them to y'all individually so you can read it and understand it. My question is not the intent. I think I have the intent. of Ms. Fontenot's committee and this council's intent. My only concern is that what you intended to do, as I read and reread this ordinance, it starts raising questions. I think you intended to eliminate homeowners, but the way the ordinance is written, it looks like it imposes an additional requirement on homeowners, but doesn't eliminate the other requirements. Correct. Those are issues of strictly cleaning up language, but this committee didn't delineate that until Monday. This is Thursday, so we have not had. Once we assimilate it and let everybody read it and make sure it's clean, we can get one good working document. I think y'all's intent is clear to us. What's not clear is that how it was written in here as it's being circulated to surveyors and professionals, yourselves, administration. There's questions being raised that the language is not clear enough. All we want to do is have the opportunity to clear the language to make sure that your intent it's going to be reflected in here. Because if I get a call on this ordinance, a couple of things that I raised, how to interpret it, I'm not going to interpret it as I think your intent is, because to me the language is different. That's my only point. I think we know what you want.
Mr. McConnell, you still got the floor.
No, you can have it back.
I would like for us to consider closing the debate and moving on the direction. Mr. Shea.
Yeah, I'm just trying to go with the directions Mr. McConnell was talking about. We can take the ordinance that was modified at the last working meeting that we had, get that copy, of which most of the changes have been made. We can use all of the information that Ms. Fontenot and anyone else has as the starting point. And then we'll start going down the list of all of Ms. Fontenot's. And the way we've done it in the past, we've taken the document, and then we started with an issue and going down there and went one by one and tried to decide how we were going to incorporate that into the document. And I suggest we continue that process, but we have to start with something. So I think we ought to start with the document that is cleaned up, that they have from the last meeting, have everybody see it, go from there at the next scheduled meeting that we have, and we'll take all of the proposed changes and go down that list one by one so everyone can have input, everyone can have an opportunity for any other changes that we have.
Okay. Now, what's the wishes of the council?
Well, you're going to have to vote. You're going to have to vote on an amendment, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. McConnell, unless he withdraws. If they both withdraw it,
I'm going to withdraw a second on the substitute motion, Mr. Chairman.
We got to withdraw. Do I hear a second on the substitute motion? No second. The substitute fails. Back to the original.
I withdraw my motion on the original.
Mr. McConnell withdraws his motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dempsey Lambert. Now,
I move that we
Second.
I don't want to say kill, but I move that we do away with the present ordinance and come back with a clean one, revised, clean, like Mr. Shakes now said.
motion by Mr. Valentine, second by Mr. Byregger. Any discussion? Any opposition? Having none, motion passes.
Just a comment. A short comment. I mean, don't think we do. I mean, people around this council want a drainage ordinance. Don't ever think of that. We do have a difference of opinion. A lot of opinions was talked about in strategic planning. Some of them were taken in, some were not taken in. So I mean, we don't want to get here and start amending and really let's get everything one page, one clean document, not one page, but several pages, one clean document, and get it done. I mean, I had asked Mr. Sanjay for some information, and I just got it today from him. And you know, there's some things there that really don't look right. So I mean, I want some clarification. So that's what this council is doing, getting some clarification.
That's fine. Mr. Vice Chairman McConnell, would you please reside as chairman for the remainder of the meeting, since I am getting ready to be late for my work, as late as I can get.
Since you did the hard part, Mr. Chairman, I'll take over.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
We voted. Kill it.
Yeah, we killed.
And I suspect we're going to see this back on strategic planning very soon. We have item number 28. It's a public hearing to consider the amending the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium-intensity residential to crossroads commercial for Lot 3C, located on the east side of Louisiana Highway 73 or Old Jefferson Highway, approximately 200 feet south of Ascension Parish Road, for Todd Hussers, and that's zoning review ID number 1546.06. Legal counsel Ricky Babin.
To amend the Ascension Parish Development Code land use map by rezoning certain parcels of land from medium-intensity residential RM to crossroad commercial CC. Whereas the Parish of Ascension has in effect a comprehensive plan of zoning. Pursuant to that plan, a parish-wide development code was adopted by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority, which became effective on June 1st, 1999. Whereas the Ascension Parish Development Code provides for a procedure for its amendment to allow the rezoning of property to a different classification. Whereas the herein described property is located as such that rezoning the property is in conformity with adjacent land uses, conformity with the general land use plan of the parish, not injurious to adjacent property, and fully meets the qualifications for rezoning set forth under Louisiana law. That the following described property be rezoned from medium-intensity residential, RM, to crossroad commercial, located on the east side of Louisiana Highway 73, Old Jefferson Highway, approximately 200 foot south of the Ascension Parish Road to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium-intensity residential RM to crossroad commercial. The legal description is attached to your package.
Motion open the public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Byerger to open a public hearing, second by Mr. Hillensbeck. Is there any discussion? Is there any opposition? The public hearing is open. If any member of the public wishes to speak on this, please sign in with our secretary.
Motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion to close by Mr. Hillensbeck,
Move the
second by Mr. Byerger. Is there any opposition? The public hearing is closed. Item number 29 is the ordinance. Motion by Mr. Hillensbeck. Somebody's in a hurry. Second by Mr. Valentine for the ordinance. Is there any discussion? Is there any opposition? The motion passes and the ordinance passes. Item number 30 is a public hearing to consider amending the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium-intensity residential to mixed use for property located on the east side of La Roche Park Road, approximately 800 feet south of Easley Molossaw Road, and its zoning review ID number 1548.06. Mr. Ricky Babin.
To amend the Ascension Parish Development Code land use map by rezoning a certain parcel of land from medium-intensity residential RM to mixed-use MU. Whereas the Parish of Ascension has in effect a comprehensive plan of zoning, pursuant to that plan, the parish-wide development code was adopted by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority, which became effective on June 1st, 1999. Whereas the Ascension Parish Development Code provides for a procedure for its amendment to allow the rezoning of property to a different classification. The herein below described property is located as such that rezoning of the property is in conformity with adjacent land uses, in conformity with the general land use plan of the parish, not injurious to adjacent land, fully meets the qualifications for rezoning set forth under Louisiana law. Be it ordained that the following described property be rezoned from medium-intensity residential, RM, to mixed-use, MU, located on the east side of La Roche Park Road, approximately 800 foot south of Easley Molossaw Road, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from medium-intensity residential, RM, to mixed-use, MU. And the legal description is in your package.
Move to open public hearing.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Valentine, second by Mr. Todd Lambert to open the public hearing. Is there any opposition? Public hearing is open. Any member of the public wishes to speak on this, please sign in with our secretary, Ms. Suzanne Patterson. Motion to close by Mr. Byerger, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any opposition? The public hearing is closed. Item number 31, is the ordinance.
Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Byerger, second by Mr. Thompson for the ordinance. Is there any discussion? Is there any opposition? The ordinance passes. Item number 32 is a public hearing to consider amending the Ascension Parish zoning map from conservation to medium-intensity residential for property located on the west side of Louisiana Highway 73, approximately 500 feet north of River Oaks Road. Zoning review ID number 1549.06. Mr. Babin.
To amend the Ascension Parish Development Code land use map by rezoning a certain parcel of land from conservation C to medium-intensity residential, RM. Whereas the Parish of Ascension has in effect a comprehensive plan of zoning, pursuant to that plan, the parish-wide development code was adopted by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority, which became effective on June 1st, 1999. Whereas the Ascension Parish Development Code provides for a procedure for its amendment to allow the rezoning of property to a different classification. Whereas the herein below described property is located as such that rezoning the property is in conformity with adjacent land uses, conformity with the general land use plan of the parish, not injurious to adjacent properties, and fully meets the qualifications for rezoning set forth under Louisiana law. Be it ordained that the following described property be rezoned from Conservation C to Medium Intensity Residential, or M, located on the west side of Louisiana Highway 73, approximately 500 foot north of River Oaks Road, to amend the Ascension Parish zoning map from Conservation C to Medium Intensity Residential, once again with the legal descriptions in your package.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Motion by Mr. Beauregard to open a public hearing, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Is there any opposition? And the public hearing is open. Any member of the public wishes to speak on this public hearing, please sign in with our secretary. Mr. Beauregard.
Motion to close.
Motion to close the public hearing. Second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Is there any opposition? The public hearing is closed. Item number 33 is the ordinance. Motion by Mr. Thompson for the ordinance.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Go ahead.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Valentine. Is there discussion?
I've got a question, yes.
Question, Mr. Hillensback.
Your motion is to accept the recommendation
No,
of...
his motion is to accept the ordinance.
Okay. I'd just like to point out that the Planning and Zoning Commission, they recommended denying this.
Yes, they did.
Make that clear.
And I'll call on you, Mr. Thompson, but that was discussed when we denied the recommendation of Planning and Zoning about a month back because of certain circumstances here. Mr. Thompson, you want to address
The
them?
adjacent property is medium intensity.
And
Right
across the
next to
street
it.
is industrial.
Across the street,
Okay.
industrial.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Thompson.
Is there any further discussion? Is there any opposition? Then the ordinance passes. Item number 34, Mr. Beauregard.
Adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to adjourn. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here.
Live a lot,